Devin Hollister, a boy like no other, club sipping beer and raising hell with his brothers.
So Wes Craven's New Nightmare tells the brand new and insanely meta story of Heather Langenkamp, the woman who played Nancy from the first and third Nightmare on Elm Street films, who must save her son Dylan from a demonic spirit who is taking the form of Freddy Krueger. Hey everybody, how's it going? It's me, Devin Hollister, and it is time to talk about the next Nightmare on Elm Street film, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This is also a first-time watch for me, and if you guys haven't known or seen my other videos by now, I have been just about halfway done with, a little bit more than that, with doing a whole review series on the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I'm starting to wrap it all up now with the final couple films. Today we're going to talk about Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is kind of a meta story take on passing over from the events of Freddy's Dead. What we have here is a self-aware story about Heather Langenkamp, who played Nancy in the first and third film, and she's playing as herself, not as Nancy this time. And you know, the world recognizes her as Nancy. You have all these Freddy fans everywhere. There's lots of talks about making a new movie since Freddy's Dead didn't do so well. And eventually what comes to happen is that you have this demonic spirit who I believe that they kind of state as is Freddy's spirit, taking the form of Freddy and somehow coming into the real world. And so that was a very interesting concept, and I was really excited to learn how that was going to be done in a type of movie like this. And of course, Wes Craven was starting to be a lot more meta with his writing, because you know, eventually he went on to make the Scream films, and now we had also gotten this, and it was very interesting to watch, and I have a few things that I do got to talk about it with. So if you guys like this review series, and if you guys want to watch more, please make sure to subscribe and like this video, and let's get started on the New Nightmare. As far as like my main positive of Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I really do enjoy, again, the performance of Heather Langenkamp. She's obviously the main star of this whole franchise, even though she's in only a few of these movies. And of course, you know, she has a bit more different personality because, of course, you know, she's playing herself as a certain character. I obviously don't know how her personality is in real life because I've never met her, but you know, you've got a totally different personality compared to Nancy. And you know, she's a bit more stronger, she's a bit more tougher, and she's a bit more like, I don't know what it is about her, but she's just more stronger compared to her Nancy counterpart. And of course, that was a lot more enjoyable to me. And as she's slowly you know, realizing these events that are endangering her son, that this demonic spirit is after her son, you kind of see some of that Nancy come out of her, and you know, that Nancy spirit, I guess. And you know, you get a nice performance where, like, you know, she's playing as herself, but you still take her as Nancy. And once again, Nancy has to defeat the evil power of Freddy.
Miss me?
I also kind of appreciate the different type of turn that this movie took for the franchise. Even though obviously this is the only movie in this franchise that did this whole meta style type of way, I never realized that it could probably work with Freddy. I mean, that's kind of one of the main reasons why I was so excited to watch this, not only because I'm doing a review series, but it's also because how different this movie is compared to all the other ones. In terms of style, in terms of the way the story is, and the way, the reason why Freddy's back. And while I may have one or two issues with it, I think the majority of what they were able to accomplish with the meta type of storytelling of this fictional universe combined with the real people who played in that universe, I think they were able to accomplish a lot of it pretty well. I also kind of enjoy how Wes Craven has like his own type of presence in this film. Like, you only get like one scene with him, but the fact that, you know, a lot of people kind of mention him throughout the film, and then when he finally shows up, he has this weird type of, like, of course he kind of gives like a bit of an exposition dump, but he has like this presence that is kind of dark in itself. It's kind of mysterious. And certainly from the way he talks, it's certainly from the way that he describes and tells Heather Langenkamp what's going on and how we can defeat this. And of course, it gets so extremely just mind-boggling and complicated because of the whole, like I said, meta writing, that you kind of have to kind of really, really focus in on that scene while watching Wes Craven to really hear what he's saying. And there's a lot about it that I really appreciate because there's so much kind of that you would never really seem to think would have been in a Freddy film. And of course, you get a bunch of cool other cameos from the roles of the movies that worked with Nancy, such as, John Saxon, which was Nancy's father, and of course, Robert Englund himself, who was playing both as himself and as the demonic Freddy. I kind of wish that we had gotten kind of like a bit of like a scene between the real Robert Englund and Freddy Krueger. That would have been an interesting scene, but we never really got that in this movie. But apart from that, how they used Robert Englund, of course, I think that in both terms of real life Robert and demonic Robert, they were both used pretty well. Of course, his presence as Freddy, this demon Freddy, who is the evil spirit, is pretty awesome. Lots of good practical effects with him. Lots of cool one-liners, and he's actually frightening again. The problem with, I guess, 4, 5, and 6, it wasn't really that bad until Freddy's dead, is that you get less and less of scary Freddy, and you get more of comedic. This one is pretty nightmarish. I would be pretty scared of this Freddy compared to a lot of the ones that we got from earlier films.
People be like, let's go.
And my final positive for this movie is that you get a lot of cool special effects with, like, you get a scene at the beginning where Freddy's claw is moving by itself. It's pretty good practical visual effects. And you get a lot of also cool, awesome stuff towards the third act of the film where Heather Langenkamp is finally going against Freddy's evil spirit. And I think it's all pretty wholesome. It's all pretty cool and pretty awesome to watch all of this happen with these real life characters who have to play these characters again. Now, kind of talking about what I'm in between of in this movie is kind of the whole meta thing itself. Now, like I did say, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty awesome. I thought it did work for Freddy, but just kind of with some other types of films out there that kind of are introducing this type of meta stuff and have in the past, there's some things that kind of make me kind of not really enjoy it that much. And what I mean by that is, while I think it worked, while I think that the writing was good for it, and I think that they did a good job with it, that's not really what I really want from a Freddy film. I would have preferred that they had just made like a reboot or a continuation, maybe not from Freddy's Dead, but from a different Nightmare on Elm Street film, And why do I say that, right? Because I'd rather just prefer like a regular horror movie with Freddy. I mean, that's just me personally. I think it's good. I think it's, like I said, they did a good job with that. But me personally, I would have just preferred a sequel of another horror movie, rather than just Heather Langenkamp having to pretend to be Nancy one more time for this incredibly meta story about this demonic spirit. And like I said, while I thought it worked, I would have just preferred that instead. And I only have really one thing that I don't like about this movie, like I just completely don't like. And some of you guys can call this a nitpick, but me personally, the main reason why I didn't really like, the one thing I didn't really like about this movie was that it takes a very long time to actually get where we need to be. I think for like a good hour, like 70% of this movie is just talking about, Dylan's his weird behavior and talking about the spirit and all this other stuff. Oh, you're Heather Langenkamp. Oh, we love you. And a lot of that takes a majority of the film. I understand the point of it. I understand the reasoning behind it. But for me personally, there is not enough action going on. There's not enough Freddy going on. I feel like this whole finding out the whole reason of what's been going on, this should have been found out and figured out within maybe like 45 minutes or 35 minutes of the movie. Because by the time we actually see Freddy do anything, this demon Freddy, we're in like an hour and like 10 minutes of this movie. And this movie's not very long. So that's a really big problem. And especially if fans had been just bring your mind back to the 1990s, right? You just watched Freddy's Dead. That shit was complete garbage. So what do we get with this, right? We get a much better movie, obviously, much better. but there's not enough Freddy, and we don't see anything actually happen until the last act of this film, and that's a big problem. But overall, guys, I thought this was a much better sequel. You know, like I said, Freddy's Dead is the only movie in this franchise that I've said that I personally don't like. I know some other critics out there have talked about 4 and 5 and said those movies were not at all very good, but me personally, I like every single movie except Freddy's Dead. And especially with Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I thought it was a much better sequel, and I totally recommend that you guys watch this if you've never watched it before. You know, definitely take a look at it, guys. Thank you everybody for watching, and remember to keep an eye out for the next Nightmare on Elm Street review. We're almost done with this franchise, man. And remember, you could be spending time with your girlfriend and getting a job, and you could be watching The Movie Wizard.
Living Hollister, a boy like no other, club sipping beer and raising hell with his brothers. Hold up.